Hello, and welcome to Write Along Radio, Rabble's new show covering all things writing. I'm Kevin Johns, author of The Page Turners.
And I'm Catherine Brunel, author of The Adventures of Claire Neverending.
Do you aim to have your novel released by a mainstream publisher? In this episode, we speak with author Tudor Robbins concerning some of the myths around mainstream publishing and why she has chosen to independently publish her second novel. So we've got a really great interview this week.
Yes, we do. We have Tudor Robbins on the show today, and she is just like what's the expression? A font of information. She is just knowledgeable and experienced. It's a thrill to have her.
And what's so fascinating about her is that, unlike you and I, who are indie authors, she was a traditionally published author with a Canadian publisher, and she is now self-publishing her second book. And so she provides us with a really unique perspective on both the traditionally published route and the self-published route.
Shall we get to it? Shall we just dive right into that? Because it's a great conversation.
Let's get to the interview now.
Tudor, we really appreciate having you here with us today. Tudor is the author of Objects in Mirror.
Correct.
When did you publish that one, Tudor?
That came out last June 2013.
And who was your publisher for that?
Red Deer Press, which is a subsidiary of Fitzhenry and Whiteside.
Okay, and you're in the process of publishing your latest novel,
Appaloosa Summer, yeah.
So Tudor and I had a conversation a little while ago. It was really fascinating. So I took our conversation and formed 3 points that we can talk about today. We're going to talk about your experience, because you have some interesting background experience, Tudor, in publishing and self-publishing. Do you want to just let us know a little bit about that?
Sure. So in terms of, my whole life and education, I was building toward, I suppose, ultimately publishing my book. And I always really felt like I think a lot of people do, that the goal was a traditional publisher and a publishing contract. And so I spent a really long time, I first finished Objects in Mirror in 2007, and it came out in 2013. So okay. I spent all that time refining, revising, querying agents, editors, publishers, until I finally got a contract.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I got to the first stage, or the traditional publication.
And you've actually worked for a publisher before, is that right? Or in a printing?
So I worked, I have an English degree and a journalism degree. And then after that, I went into magazine publishing. So I was like an in-house writer and editor. And then I worked in a printing company. And I did both digital and traditional, like printing presses, and digital when it was quite new, which of course is what enables self-publishing now, really. And then after that, I worked for a couple of big publishers as a sales rep.
Oh, okay.
I've done sort of a lot of different things in publishing.
Right. So what we're going to talk today is the 3 myths that we kind of touched on in our conversation last time.
Okay.
The myth of choice, it's number 1.
That's right.
The myth of, and I don't know if it's, we'll talk about it. The myth of support.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to be fair and get like both sides, but the myth is such a nice shiny label to put on things.
Yeah, for sure.
And the myth of quality.
Yeah.
So you said something the other day when we were talking that really just was so true, and I had never thought of it this way before. You said 95% of those who are querying, approximately, will never get an agent or will never see their book published that way.
Correct.
And it's almost this myth that we are all aspiring towards, and why are we doing that? But maybe you can say it better, because it was so good the way you hit the nail on the head.
I think what comes up a lot right now, and especially we're seeing a lot of rhetoric right now, this is maybe a timely moment to talk about this, because there's a lot of rhetoric right now with the whole Amazon Hachette debate or fight or whatever it is that's going on between Amazon and Hachette. And